Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, with your hosts Josh Earl, Derek Bailey, and John Sonmez. The podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
The EntreProgrammers podcast is brought to you by SignalLeaf.com. It's not just the best audio host for your podcast, it's also the only podcast host that we'll talk about during the EntreProgrammers podcast. Because SignalLeaf is one of the services that I'm building and often used as fodder for information that we talk about during the EntreProgrammers podcast. So check it out at SignalLeaf.com. It's podcast hosting without the headaches.
Now we're live.
Yeah.
Nice.
All
right. So what's cooking this week, guys? Besides the whole celeb gate, or I'll call it that by that name. Just
Wait, what? I'm blanking on that.
Oh, the Apple security hack?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even gonna get into that.
No. Wise
But just
decision.
if you take pictures naked of yourself, just to pretend
Not
like
even
they're
gonna
all-
start. I'm gonna hang up now.
We're off to a rocky start here.
Yes.
I'll just put it this way: if you put something on a computer hard drive,
I'm gonna hang up.
public.
I'm gonna hang up. Not going anywhere near this subject.
John is trying to justify his hacking behavior. Consider everything that you ever think public.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man. Wow. All right. So yeah, this week. Well, I have had the last couple weeks have been pretty interesting for me. I think I alluded to this earlier, but kind of shifting focus here toward not trying to do so much with products and looking to start to ramp up some income from consulting.
Right.
So that has it's really thrown me for a loop because I was headed in one direction for such a long time that I feel a little bit. I mean, I feel in some ways more focused now. I have a definite direction that I want to go, but I also feel kind of like a dream is dying almost type of thing. So
yeah.
So I've been just kind of thinking through that a lot, like the last few days, and I don't know. It's kind of unresolved right now. I'm really looking hard at everything that I'm doing and trying to find, because it's too much. I have got too much on my plate right now, and I really need to think about the direction that I'm going and then figure out which things are going to get me there the fastest. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing right now that is not really what I've been trying to do. Basically, is kind of piece together, different income streams, and that has had me really, really scattered.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to cut some of that stuff. There's no two ways about it. I feel really, it's kind of reassuring. Like I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere for a long time, and in some ways this feels like I'm giving up. But really, when I look at most of the people that I've seen online actually do the product thing, they haven't done it. They have done it from a more of a consulting standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like Craig, we talked to Craig last week. And that, like, for me to put together that level of package, something like that it took him 8 months. It would probably take me 3 years, honestly, to produce that same type of thing. So
I don't know about 3 years, but if you focused but I mean, you hate code, so maybe it would take 3 years.
Well, it would take me 3 years. I mean, honestly, that was like pretty much full-time work for him.
Yeah.
So it would be, yeah, it would be a long time. Put it that way. So yeah, so I don't know. I this week I decided to take on some freelance copywriting work that I can't really talk about too much because I have an NDA for that. But I'll be doing. I'm getting started with that, and it's actually it's really scary. But also like as I'm getting into it, I think it's right up my alley. Like it's really exciting. So yeah, so things are just really, like for me, things are just really, really up in the air right now. I had a pretty awful month for Sublime stuff last month. I think I cleared about $600. So I didn't know, that's not cleared. I earned total about $600, and then I had a lot of mailing list expenses. Like I was in the red for big time last month. So yeah, so we'll have to see. I mean, that's definitely going to be something that I'm going to be cutting out or cutting back to bare minimum, I think. September, it'll be interesting to watch and see if anything fun happens in September for all of us. Like,
right.
Since August has been, I mean, for all of us, but pretty much everybody, it seems like August is just awful. I know for like just general web traffic across the web, it's like a serious downtime. So
right.
We might see an uptick here in the next couple weeks, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna kind of have to shut that stuff down for the most part. Yeah, it's just not providing me a lot of return on the investment.
I wouldn't be too concerned. I mean, too worried at this point. I mean, as far as going on the consulting road, because you're not going on the consulting road for money. You're doing it for experience.
Right.
The big difference.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of retooling. And the other thing, I think that the key thing, at least what I've discovered with people that are selling products that are the most successful, is they already have an audience.
Right.
They're selling into. And so you're building more of that. I mean, now that you had that post on Pat Flynn's blog, and and you're building a reputation. You've got a lot of contacts like Noah Kagan and stuff like that. And so I mean, and then you do with this copywriting gig and with SitePoint and everything, all of those things are like steps forward that are building you up reputation and skills and experience, which is going to translate directly into another product being more successful in the future. So I wouldn't say it's like you're like totally shutting the door on that thing. It's more like you're like putting what you have right now on autopilot, and then you're kind of retraining, getting more skills, building an audience, and then you can always come back to it, or maybe you're coming back to products in general and build a new product with the new audience you have, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be too concerned. It's if you're telling me, I need to make, I've got a car payment and I need to make this extra money, so I'm just gonna have to go to consulting for a while.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'd be concerned because I'd be like, okay, well, you're just like burning time on just running on this wheel and you're not getting anywhere. But you're doing it for a totally different purpose than making money, which at least in the short term. So.
Right.
Yeah. This copywriting thing it's going to be very helpful. Like it's going to be. I've been thinking about ways that I can shortcut my skill development, and this is definitely going to be, because I'm working with somebody who's more experienced than me, so it's going to be a huge learning curve. It's going to cut a lot of time off my learning curve, I hope. Right now, like I'm working with Derek on SignalLeaf, and I'm kind of like, we have like a small steady flow of traffic now that we're getting. Mm-hmm. The AdWords account, I think we've got it to a place where it's performing to some extent. We can improve it a lot, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But like basically the next step is figuring out what to do with that traffic. Yeah. And we need a better landing page. We need better messaging, and that's that's kind of where I'm stuck right now, and I need to get good at that piece of it.
Have you considered like changing the ad so that it kind of just like a picture like of, I don't know, like a famous celebrity with like a white like a censored farm, and like get all of them here at SignalLeaf? Yeah, all the pictures uncensored.
I think that our cost per click would go down, but we'd probably end up blowing through that budget quickly.
Yeah.
I know that's what Derek was talking about. He wants to do that. So.
Nice. Yeah, So that's kind of where I am right now. Like it's just I'm feeling like really really unsettled by the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think this is what I want to do. I really do. I'm feeling like this huge. I'm battling this huge resistance though to it, and like I think it's. I'm trying to figure out if it's like good scared or like runaway scared. And I think this will be a good. I'm dipping my toe in the water here in a pretty serious way. Like I'm more like jumping in the pool really. Yeah, it's in like I'm not cutting any or burning any bridges really. So this will be a good way for me to figure out if this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case, you waste a little bit of time, right? That's the
well.
Worst
I'll
case
definitely. I mean, yeah. Not even that. I mean, I'll be learning for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think in a few months I'll have a much better idea if this is really the direction I want to go. But this is a good low risk way to find it out, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot else to say. My Pat Flynn post went over pretty well. It's up over it was well over 100 comments, and so far I've gotten 248 people that have clicked through and subscribed to my list to get the coupon. So and then that's also getting like a 75% open rate at email.
Nice.
So I don't know I don't know what the actual follow through is as far as people who've actually bought the plugin, but yeah, it seems like that's gone pretty well. I was pretty nervous. It was actually really interesting because I'm used to publishing stuff and then like kind of that first hour or two being really critical,
right.
Like with Hacker News or a lot of the stuff that I've done. It's like you kind of push the publish button and you hold your breath. You hope that the traffic spikes, and if it doesn't, you're like, oh well, try again later. But with this, like so with Pat's site, like the post went live, and then I could tell when he tweeted it because there were like the tweet counter on his site went from like 0 to like 78 instantly. It was hilarious because a bunch of people retweeted it right away, and then it was like really quiet for a long time. And probably it took people 2 or 3 hours to read the stupid post because I didn't start getting comments on it till like later in the day or even the next day. But it's just been like it's been a pretty steady flow for the last week. So his traffic is like, probably, I'm not sure if he's going to email it out or not, actually. But yeah, I think it kind of picks up slowly. So and the share counts continue to climb, but also kind of slowly in more of a linear way.
So are you making sales on the plugin at this point?
For sure, yeah, I've definitely made some because people have been like, I just bought this, or So yeah, I don't know. So the way it's set up is it's kind of ad hoc. Like Noah just created a coupon code, and then he was gonna basically shoot me the total at some point in the future.
I see.
So okay. Yeah, so there's not like an official.
Idea.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what I've made, if anything. So
you could be rich right now.
I could be.
You could be.
Yeah, it's not like an official affiliate program or anything. So it's a little cobbled together. But yeah, it's gone over pretty well. So that's been exciting. I'm trying to think if there's really anything else to report. Not really. We're getting the Signal. Yeah, so the Signal Leaf campaign's been running now for about 2.5 weeks maybe, and we're getting about right around 9-10 clicks a day right now. So, and yeah, so we'll see. We need to keep that. The first month apparently is pretty unstable. Kind of things go up and down a lot, and then it settles down after that. So we'll see where things are. In a couple more weeks. But yeah, Derek and I have been chatting a lot offline about that.
I've got a couple of things to report this week.
Any hate mail from your book, your coupon code email?
Oh, I guess I'll address that first. So
Okay.
that kind of so my book released this week, the meat for it. So that's the early access. So it's like the first 20 chapters or so. So that's for sale. They kind of dropped it on me. I didn't really have prep to like I kind of knew I'd kind of said that I didn't want to do the meep, just do a big release, but then they kind of pushed back and said, well, we kind of like doing meep, so we're going to do it next week. So I didn't really have time to set up normally I would have set up like a chain of emails and blog posts and stuff kind of leading up to it to kind of help push the sales through kind of like a launch, basically a launch.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to do that. So I sent out one email when it first went live, like last week, and I guess there was like maybe 100 purchases or so from that. And then I got a discount code a couple of days later for 50% off, and I was like,
Surprise.
oh man, what the heck am I supposed to do with this now? Like email people and say, hey, it's 50% off now. All right. Like, don't ever buy anything from me on the first email ever again.
And next week you'll send out an email that is 75% off.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be
the way,
deal.
it's free.
It's going to be the deal of the day, the Manning deal on 9/11. So I don't know how much maybe that's just a 50% off, but
I think they do 50% off for those deal of the day.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I kind of said, well, I don't even want to use this discount code, but then the marketing person was like, no, really, we want to do this. They're looking to push like 300 to 400 copies of the book on the Meep for the launch. Mm-hmm. And then they're sitting at like 150 or so at that point.
Did they say why? Like, I'm curious. Is it just like to gauge interest, or
I think so. I mean, they use the Meep to determine how much resources to put into the rest of the marketing when it goes to print and stuff like that. And I think if there's not enough sales, it doesn't even go to print. I would assume, right?
Yeah, I've had a few books that I bought that were early access, and they were all but finished, and the book got canceled.
Yeah. So
okay.
I've already been paid by them, both checks, so I'm pretty sure the book won't get canceled.
Right.
But anyway, and we'll hit the sales now for sure. Because they're sending out in their newsletter and stuff. So, but anyway, I sent out the email this morning. I didn't actually even put in my affiliate code because I didn't have it at that point. Now I have it, but I guess it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, I have no idea how many purchases, but I got a couple of. I only really got like 2 angry emails.
Okay.
So out of that whole thing so far, right? I guess I could get more.
Yeah.
They already bought the book. So I'm trying to decide what I should do. They want to, can I get half my money back? Or
I mean, if I were you, I would just give them the money myself.
I was thinking about that. It doesn't really scale very well, though, if I get
but how many people bought it, right? Like, at most 100, you said 150?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many more do you think you're going to get? Like, maybe it's like what, half the people, or probably 2/3 of the people won't even read the email.
That's true. Yeah.
So you do the percentages thing we always do, and it's going to get down to like a handful at most. And probably the least hassle thing for you would be to just give them half their money back personally.
That's probably true. Thanks, Josh. Now I'm going to get a bunch of emails that everyone watching the show like, I appreciate your book, by the way.
PayPal me at.
Right.
I was thinking about giving. I was going to see if they have like the dev career, or not the 10 steps to learn anything quickly. Since I'm selling that course now, I was going to just give that away for free to anyone who had paid full price for it if they didn't have it already. But what I'll probably do is then, if they do have it, then I'll give them the money personally.
Yeah.
I'd rather give them something that's a product that's
right.
Yeah, a bonus.
Yeah, as a bonus. Right. So.
Yep.
But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, the email went out. I'm assuming that
a couple hours ago.
Yeah, let me look at the rate. I had a really high click rate on the first email, and which is interesting too, because the open rate was extremely high, which means that what happens in MailChimp is that if the open rate is not reported correctly because of the images thing, right?
Right.
But if someone clicks it, then it counts as an open.
Yeah.
Because that's the only logic that makes sense to why the open rate would be so. I mean, the open rate would be higher than normal.
Right.
So that's something to consider too when you're looking at I mean, click rate is really the most important thing. Let me see here. I'll open this up and tell you. But while that's opening, or here it goes right here. Okay, so there's not very many opens yet, but the click rate is pretty decent. So I've got it just disappeared. 14.3% open rate,
Okay.
and then a 3.6% click rate on it so far.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I think that way that's reported is like that's of the. Are you looking at the overall click rate? That's like of all the emails you sent, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So that number will probably double.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah. And
well, yeah. I mean, you'll probably get a couple more, I would imagine. I'm gonna guess four to six maybe. Total.
Yeah, that'll definitely be something.
That's manageable.
I was debating whether or not to do, because I really hate to tick people off that have already bought the thing, but at the same time, like not using that code is
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I think it's okay because I mean I was pretty honest in the email and I was like, look, I didn't know about this code, so
yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I mean you're also by not giving the code out, you're doing a bunch of people a disservice. So
yeah,
it's kind of it's unfair no matter what you do, really.
Right.
So.
Discounting something 50% also I had some question about that. That's a pretty steep discount, but
that's pretty typical for them with their early access stuff, though, because they're really trying to judge market viability with that. They want reviews and feedback and things like that that'll help sell it at full price later on.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, anyways,
And the people that are buying it now are not getting the full book yet. So, I mean, when I did LeanPub, I did kind of the same thing. I started it out dirt cheap, and then as I added more content, I slowly increased the price, which allowed me to both test the price, see what people were willing to pay for it, but also provided people with incentive to buy it early at a cheaper price and show support for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I really like that process that they have, the early access. Like that actually, and it seems like they've got a really rigorous review process too, like getting a lot of feedback from readers. I don't know that that's typical of more traditional publishing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that. I think it should hit the numbers. They're supposed to let me know on that, but so far the response has been pretty good, and I've been asking people to promote it as well. So hopefully that'll help generate some sales. But yeah, I wasn't able to give my full. If I could give my full efforts to like a launch for it, I think I could have.
Yeah, well, it's a pre-launch, right? So you'll have a chance to do that when it actually launches. So
that's true. The other thing I did this week was that Java Code Geeks. I think I emailed you guys and told you. I had them. They offered me a spot in their newsletter. I guess they're going to start advertising, and they had like 25K subscribers, I think. And so they said for $200 they'll send an email blast. So I just sent one of my emails for the Dev Career Boost to them and basically modified it. And they blasted that out, and I'm looking at the sales now. I think I'm at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So
nice.
6 sales from that. So, one sale basically got me my money back.
Right.
So everything else is profit.
Nice. So that was more. So I was assuming that was more of like an email newsletter mention, but it's actually a full marketing email that you sent out like an ad.
Exactly. Yeah, they sent it. I think they put a little bit of context before it, but it was essentially sent. My whole email. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good opportunity to do that. definitely worth doing. It depends too, like on the price of the product that made it easily worth it, right? Because I only need to sell one to make the money back at that price. So, and then the other thing I've decided is that I'm not going to retire.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a big decision here.
Well, yeah, after being here in Maui for 2 months, well, not 2 months, about 5 weeks or so, there's actually 3 reasons why I'm not going to retire just yet.
Okay.
One of them is because I was playing some video games and I realized that kind of most of the video games that are coming out today suck. So yeah, so that it's not like the golden age when we were kids and we played Nintendo games and they were good. Most of them
the thing
suck
that
today.
you do though is just go buy all the old systems with all the old games that we know and love, and then you can retire.
But I've already played them. Like
they're not the same though. I've gone back and like played some of these. I was not huge into video games, but I've gone back and played some of the ones that I really liked in the 90s, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna leave this to nostalgia. This was really frustrating.
Yes, it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the best ones. Like I'm playing through BioShock right now, and I'm like, man, this is just you just die and die and die and die, and then it's just ridiculous. And then it brings you back at like this save point anyway, so like there's no penalty for dying. So it's like I don't know, it just kind of takes the fun out of it. The story's pretty good, but a lot of the games that I was playing, I was like, it's kind of silly, but I was thinking, well, I'll spend a lot of time catching up and playing video games, but then now it's a big disappointment because all the ones that I missed, they sucked anyway. So
my opinion on video games is that you should like not really be able to save mid-level, ever.
Yeah.
Like you should have to work for it, It's like
Yeah,
maybe it's a little bit of a get off my lawn.
I'm a casual hardcore gamer. I love my games and I like the challenging games, but I want to be able to save whenever I want to be able to save. Because I don't want to have to. I mean, I don't like. I get in that mood where I just want to walk into a room in a game and just obliterate everything and be in God mode and just do whatever I want. But most of the time, I want enough of a challenge to make it interesting, but not so much of a challenge that I can never get past it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. For me, it's like, though, for me to get the adrenaline rush, like there needs to be something on the line, and if I can save, like what I find myself doing is in games where you can save all the time, is like kill a bad guy, save, kill a bad guy, save, kill a bad guy, save, and it's like it's just like there's no there's no stakes. Is that what?
Yeah. Where you just you go through the grind of killing enemies and saving as often as you can in order to level up and get better weapons and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like if there's no stakes, it's got to be challenging. And for me, the adrenaline comes from like knowing that if I die, I'll have to go back and replay 10 minutes of level.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that that kind of puts a dampener on that part. And then the other part that let's see what's the other parts of the equation. So I guess I would probably be bored, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
especially given the video game situation.
Yeah, given that, right? And then number two, I realized that there's there's big houses on the hills that I would like to have. Like in Maui. So I was like,
okay.
At first I was like, well, you're okay with a certain amount of, but it'd be nice to have a big house on the hill in Maui. so there you're in the couple $1 million range there. So I gotta up my keep earning money to be able to afford that. Well,
you could just get a timeshare, right?
Yeah.
Just do your timeshare all year. That's.
But yeah, the bigger part of it is that it's I would still like to upgrade a little bit further in there's a certain point where where I think you're making enough money that you're have enough wealth that you can pretty much get a different level that you can reach. That's worth reaching. Like not an astronomical level. Like
it's a never-ending pursuit. I mean, you say that now, while Josh and I sit here and think, yeah, if only we were at your level, we'd be able to. And you're gonna get to that, 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, and you're just gonna say, if I could just get to, it's a never-ending pursuit. At some point, you either realize that it's a never-ending pursuit and you accept it, or you say, okay, this is where it stops, and you set a legitimate stopping point, and you actually stop.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that my stopping point is a little bit higher than where I thought it was, like here, because I think it's just a little bit beyond.
Just one more. Just one more hit. And then I'll be done. I promise. Just one last taste before I go into rehab.
No. Yeah, well, when I saw that, like I said, I mean, when we're driving around here and we're like, okay, well, it'd be nice to live here. Like we could live here, but it'd be nice to live here comfortably, which you kind of need to, like, not that living in Maui isn't nice, but it'd be to have like a regular house, in a decent location. Not just you need to be a little bit more on the scale, a little bit higher on the income, which is something to shoot for. Which before I was like, well, I mean, there's no point. Like, if I just have my time, I'm retired and free, then that's a valuable thing. But yeah, that's the thing. And I also realized that I kind of I think I enjoyed just the pursuit of doing, like I'm eager to get back to work and to spend the time, trying to, even if it's not, it's not necessarily like just trying to make money type of thing, but it's the game of it, I guess. That's kind of fun. So yeah, so that's where I think, I mean, I don't think I'll be, I think what my plan is now is when I get back, I will be just getting back to work and then, just working, but now I have the option of taking off when I need to or when I want to. I'm not under as much pressure, so.
Yeah. Do you think you might want to end up, well, I guess you do want to move to Maui, but, or is that definitely a goal, or just, do you guys like it there?
It's a possibility. I mean, I'm liking it here so far. What's actually interesting is the community is it's like living in a small town, which is kind of weird. And where we're at on the west side in Lahaina, because we've run into multiple people that in multiple places, which is kind of weird. You wouldn't expect that here, which is pretty cool. And we'd like to hear. And you can get by here. I mean, like my budget that I was going to set for housing would be like a maximum of $3,000 a month, and you could rent somewhere, here, for a decent 3-bedroom house for about around that, from $2,500 to $3,000 a month, which is something I could do now, and be okay with it. Not a lot of money left over, after that, but enough you could live here, and so it's actually more livable than that. I think the biggest challenge for living here for most people is the employment situation, because you're not going to find a job here, so you have to have the income from somewhere else.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, we're not sure yet. The other place we're looking at is San Diego, which is a similar climate, but we might actually go there for 2 months next year.
Fewer seagulls there, hopefully.
Less tropical.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
cool.
I think that's about it for me.
I thought you were gonna say the time off with the 3-year-old was.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Yes, okay. You can actually take time off with. It's not. So that's the other thing. It's like when you're. Everyone's like, oh, you're on vacation for 2 months in Hawaii. That's got to be nice. And like, well, let's not call it totally a vacation, because I am spending all day long with a 3-year-old. So It's just there's no peace and relaxation.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. Like it's nice to be here, but that's the other thing to realize is you don't retire with young kids because that means that you're just home dealing with them all day. So you might as well be working. You might as well be doing something than driving yourself nuts. So.
Yeah, let me complain on your behalf and say that I'm the parent that doesn't like 3-day weekends, and I've had 2 3-day weekends in a row. And the reason that I don't like 3-day weekends is because I can't get anything done. I mean, it's an all-day affair to run around with kids and take care of them and deal with them. And anybody that ever says, stay-at-home moms don't work is full of shit because stay-at-home parents have the most difficult jobs in the world.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I have to. I need my time away from everyone to be able to work and away from the kids to be able to stay sane. And call me a bad parent for saying that. Whatever. It's the way I am. I love my kids. I love hanging out with them when it's time to hang out with them. But I can't do the all-day parent thing. Weekends are bad enough, let alone 3-day weekends.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced now that cause when we first had my daughter, I told my wife, I was like, well, just work remotely. Like you can work from home. A lot of women do that when they have. If you're, I'm going to piss off people, but I don't care because the truth must be revealed, which is if you are taking care of a child and working from home, you are full of shit. You are not working. You're either not working or you've got the child duct taped to a chair because you cannot do both. It's not humanly possible. So
I have tried. Yeah, like for me, like even when I've tried to just babysit for a couple of hours, it's really tough. I mean, they're climbing all over me, and punching keys on my computer. And
I've had some interesting random garbage tweets, and I came back to my computer once, and literally the desktop was flipped upside down, and the screen colors were inverted. I had no idea that my computer could do that.
Nice.
But yeah, that is a piece of it, Josh. You're right. I forgot that was my third one. Actually, it's just it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of silly to try and retire. You're not going to go and relax, or what are you going to do? I mean, and again, you're not even going to be playing video games all day or anything like that. Like you might as well be working and until kids get a little bit older, and then you have more time. Then you can actually do stuff with them that doesn't make you want to bang your head against the wall.
No, I don't want to watch Dora for the 20th time this morning.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But it's funny. I came up with I'm going to try to do something maybe in January. I was going to try and see if along those lines, I was going to try and get my wife to work part-time, maybe like 4 hours a day on EntreProgrammer, and hire a nanny during that time, which might be kind of cool, just to give her a break. Not full-time, but just and to have either a nanny or like a private tutor, maybe a combo type of thing, since we're doing the homeschooling bit. But that'd be kind of neat, I think.
I did that for a while, actually. When my son was first born 7 years ago, my wife is a professor at Baylor. I'm, developer. At the time, I had a job where I was working from in an office, but Ian's daycare was basically over at 3 o'clock, and we were needing a babysitter to take care of him because my wife couldn't take care of him because she had to work. I couldn't take care of him because I had to work. So we had a nanny that would take care of him from 3 to 5 every day, and we did that for a while when I first started working from home as well. For my second child, my daughter, we did that for when she was working at home, or when I was working at home, and it was interesting because I would go pick up my son, bring him home, or pick up my daughter, bring her home. And by this time, my son was in daycare full time. So I'd bring my daughter home, and she would be with the nanny, and then I would work for a few more hours that day. And it worked out pretty well for a while to give me the extra time and to have the nanny here in the house. So she was taking care of the kids, and I was working, but I was still here in case in case there were any questions or anything happened or whatever. And so that kind of situation worked out pretty well for us for a while, and then she ended up moving away, and the kids got older and were in daycare full time and stuff like that. So, but for a little while, for a year or so, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. That might be something that would work out well. But either way, I think I'm gonna try and grow Simple Programmer and try to really expand things in the next couple of years. Not ready to throw in the towel just yet.
Have you gotten any sense for how you want to focus, or what if you're going to be dropping anything, or is that...
The big thing right now is like when I get back, what's the first thing on my list is kind of cleanup. Is like I'm probably going to move the Simple Programmer, my blog, over to fresh WordPress installed with Genesis and maybe a pre-created theme, instead of the custom stuff that they have now, because I just feel like it's kind of messy. The fonts are kind of screwy, and I just don't have time to fix that. And there's I might drop the YouTube videos off at the side and stuff. I got to check, but I don't think there's getting much clicks from there.
Yeah. On that list, I would throw speed on there too, because for me it loads really slow, and that's definitely hurting your traffic.
Yeah. So I kind of want to get that all kind of fixed and situated, and then there's a few other things that I want to clean up, and then I kind of want to get things back on schedule and have a little bit more rigor to the I feel like things are getting a little bit sloppy lately, and so I want to kind of clean up all that stuff. And then I also want to get the marketing funnel set up for the Dev Career Boost, the how to market yourself, just to, because I haven't spent enough time, so I kind of want to clean up all that old stuff, get it all, freshened up, and then move on to new things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the focus too will be on products, because I've got enough of an audience now, and I've been getting a lot of requests to make a Selenium course, so I may actually do that.
Right.
And I've also thought about possibly, but I think I'm going to wait on that. Like, one of the things I was going to do was open up an independent game studio, do game development, but that's more of a, like, I think I need to build a business that actually is profitable more first, and then go down. That's more of a, like, retired type of thing to do for me.
Yeah.
So
that seems more of a, let me fund this business and I will be majority owner, but other people will actually run it and do the real work.
Well, I was going to actually do everything.
Really?
One of the things I want to do is create games from the ground up, doing everything myself, from the graphics to sound to everything. But that's
what would your target platform be? Would it be mobile devices, consoles, PCs?
It would probably be. I would probably be targeting cross-platform with it. It would probably be mobile, right? To start with, like cross-platform mobile, with the possibility of porting it to desktop. But not sure yet. But that's not something that's likely to be profitable. So that's something I'd like to do. But yeah, I've still got to figure out everything with where I'm taking Simple Programmer at this point. The traffic's been increasing steadily. So I get about around 3,000 to 3,500 page views a day, I'd say. So.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really nice base.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you've still been posting, right? I think since pretty much every week. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I still do weekly blog posts, so I'm keeping up with that. I just need to get things a little bit more organized. That's where I was thinking about hiring. I might actually do the intern thing and try to find an intern, someone that wants to, because there's a bunch of stuff that could be done that kind of help me out, like little stuff that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, so I don't know if you guys saw, I did another episode of Get Up and Code. So I'm gonna try and resurrect that with a co-host, I think.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. I've kind of put the word out that I'm looking at possibly interviewing a co-host. So
cool. Yeah.
I kind of want to get that more automated. Yeah, I want to get that more automated. So it's just like this show, record and then
Right.
we don't have to worry about it. So.
Yeah. You were doing all that yourself, or was Iris doing some of that?
I was doing it myself. At some point, I was hiring my sister to do some editing for me, like posting the episodes. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. And you've got the book launch. What's the official date on that going to be? Do you know yet?
Oh, when the print book will be out?
Like there.
I think it's tentatively December 11th. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a little breathing room before that.
Yeah, exactly. By the time that launch goes, I will have a full-on, like, prepared, like, multiple blog posts and full-on launch for it. So.
Yep. Nice. Derek.
So that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
How about you?
So I'm having another existential crisis. Let's put it that way.
All right.
There's a number of things going on. I mean, I don't really know. I don't even know where to begin. I don't really know what I'm doing. That's, I guess, what it really comes down to. I mean, for all of the things that I have going on, it's getting really frustrating to just be haphazardly running around trying to do too many things at once, and having Watch Me Code coming up with the end of the existing content at the end of this month. I need to get on to that. I'm putting aside potential for a huge amount of money with Pragmatic Programmers right now because I don't have time to work on the Backbone screencast for them. But is that the right decision? Would it be better to work on that instead of Watch Me Code? Should we really continue doing Signal Leaf, or should I kind of let that go and say, sorry, Josh, you'll have to find another way to get the experience you need? Because the amount of work that you're putting into it is going to require a fair amount of work from me to support what you need.
Don't factor that in. I mean, I'm sure you won't, but don't factor that into your decisions. I mean,
Josh has got lots of jobs.
Yeah,
he does.
If he loses one, Josh is the most employable person I know.
One less thing to worry about. No, seriously though. I mean, you're investing money in the ads and you're investing time in it, and if you
but
know,
that's part of the problem though. Is I'm losing like $1,500 a month on this thing right now.
Right.
I need this to work, or I need to stop.
Right.
And so if I can, we could shut off the ads and not worry about this right now, and I would still be losing, $600-800 a month.
Right.
And not have any real growth, which means, I'd be losing less per month, which would be nice, and I could probably let it sit for a while and do something else. But at what point do I draw the line and say, okay, I'm going to get back onto this, or okay, I'm going to shut it down because I'm never going to put the time and effort into it. It's
right.
I'm coming down to the point where I'm just lost. I have so many things going on. I don't know where to go with it, and I've been talking with a couple of other people this week, just random conversations one conversation with Chris Hartjes, aka Grumpy Programmer, fairly well-known guy in
Yes.
PHP. Been talking with him about these
PHP.
things, and
now we know why Derek suddenly been taking a hankering to WordPress development.
I actually did PHP development 15 years ago.
I'm gonna mail you a PHP hammer. Just
so the conversation with him was centered around this kind of discussion of, it actually started out with I hate marketing. That was where this all started, and it went into me dropping the Pragmatic Programmers screencasts or postponing them at least, and the amount of money that I'm leaving on the table with that. And then it was the question of, okay, well, is that the right thing to drop? Should I drop Watch Me Code instead? Should I drop Signal Leaf instead? And in the conversation, it became apparent to him that I have no clue how to manage my time, which is, still 100% the truth. This is like the big struggle that I've had my entire career, is managing my own time, my own responsibilities, my own whatever it is. I can never schedule things appropriately. I can never get things prioritized correctly without somebody else coming in and helping me do that, helping me figure that kind of stuff out. I'm terrible at scheduling my own time, managing my own time. Even if I have made improvements, even if I am trying to use OmniFocus, I still don't know how to really set high-level priorities to know which thing I can set aside for a while and when I can set it aside and what thing I should be prioritizing. I tend to just react to, oh, hey, opportunity, let me say yes. Oh, hey, opportunity, let me say yes. And I end up in the exact situation that I'm in now, and it's frustrating. And so I'm having this, mini crisis, existential crisis here, trying to figure out if I'm really focusing on the right things or not, and I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if I am. I think about getting back onto Watch Me Code, and then I get stressed because I'm not doing the Pragmatic Programmer stuff, and I think about doing that, and I get stressed because I want to continue. I want Signal Leaf to succeed, and I have client work that has actual deadlines this year, so it's obvious that my client work is my number one priority, but that just puts me back on the path of, okay, I'm going to drop all these other things and just go back into consulting, which is the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get out of consulting eventually, which is why I want these other things to work, but I've got too many other things going on, and I don't know, it's just a big giant ball of blah.
Here's what you do. Here's my suggestion. Draw a circle, make your pie, right? And then, without thinking about time, just percentage your pie out. Like, pick the things that you're working on, right? Your major projects, and percentage it out ideally how you would split your time up, or how you'd split that pie. Because the reality is that you only have a pie. The pie doesn't grow, right? So if you start from that, I think that's probably the key thing. I mean, whatever you're going to have to do some introspection and figure out what things are really important to you. And when you look at that pie and you see what the slices are, then that's going to give you a guideline. Like, that's your high-level priority. That's what you really, like, aside from all the urgent crap that comes up and everything else, this is what you actually want to spend your time on. Maybe want is not the word. It's what you feel is the best use of your time, is how that pie is split up. Then take I don't know if you might try the weekly planning thing that I do, but
I've tried, and I sit down at my computer and I go,
well, maybe the pie is what you're missing, is because that might be a good place to start, because then you can make cards in Trello or whatever, and you can make them for the pie pieces, and you can percentage that out correctly so that your time, just make sure that you use some kind of system, like come up with points, or maybe you just do it by hours and you rough estimate it, and make sure that you fill your week with how that pie is allocated. And that's a good, you could do it on a monthly basis, I suppose, but I think if you did that at a weekly basis, I think that would give you some relief, because then you'd know that you're working on what you're supposed to be working on, what you're prioritized, and the time, you've put the time into what you want to put it into, and then you won't be as stressed out, because you know that, okay, well, I'm only supposed to spend 2 hours on Signal Leaf this week, or whatever it is, and then you've got that scheduled, and then that's all that you can do, But if you can chunk it all out and figure that out, and especially plan it, the key thing is to plan it at the beginning of the week, to say, this week I'm going to work on this. This is what I've allocated for it, right? And then you don't have to feel guilty about what you should be working on. You don't get distracted. You know what the goal is for that set period of time. Now next week it might change, but this week at least you got to put something in stone, so you know what you're supposed to be doing, because the frustrating thing is not knowing what you're supposed to be doing, right? From everything I've heard from you, like, you can take marching orders and go,
right?
But you can't, and you can give marching orders, but you can't, so you've got to be able to give yourself the marching orders as if you're not yourself, and then follow them as if you didn't give them to yourself,
right? And I don't know how to do that. When I sit down to try and do that, my brain just goes blank. I can't step out of the details well enough to be able to see the big pictures anymore.
And that's why I would say that you need to create the pie first, is to figure out what your actual priorities are, so that you can set those up, right? And then plan it from there, because then you'll know what thing that you need to focus on. And maybe, the other alternative would be to shift your focus to say, okay, this week, if you have, especially if you draw that pie and it looks like most of them are coming up to like 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. If it looks like that, then maybe your strategy is to say, this week the focus belongs to Signal Leaf, so I'm going to do X, but 90% of or 80% of the work that I'm going to do is Signal Leaf, and I'm going to schedule all these cards. Or this week belongs to Watch Me Code, so this week I'm going to do X other things that have to be done every week, but then I'm going to devote all these cards that I'm going to do for Watch Me Code.
See, this is getting back to the heart of the problem, though. Setting those percentages assumes I can actually prioritize these things.
That you can prioritize, yeah.
Yeah, because, I have to be able to say this one is higher priority than that one in order for me to give it a percentage.
Well, what determines your priority, right? Let's dissect this and unpack this a bit, right? It's not just it's not just what generates you the most money, right?
Yeah, if that were the case, I'd just be doing consulting.
Right, because that generates you the most money in the short term.
Right.
So that has to have a pretty high priority, because it's something that you need to sustain yourself, and it's when you're trading dollars for time there, it's a very high value on the dollars per the time, right? So it's a good way to sustain yourself. But your overall goal is to minimize that eventually, and to make more money from more leverageable things. So what's the most leverageable thing that you have going right now that has the potential to make the most money in time?
Probably the Pragmatic Programmer screencasts. But here's the dilemma with that. Well, I could spend a month working on that, and probably make $10,000 off of that pretty easily. Because I think I made $13,000 off of it when I did it 3 years ago.
Off of royalties off of it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Over what course of time? Over a year? Like in the next year? Like if you spend a month right now, in the next year, you can make...
Over 2 years, I think. Year and a half.
Okay, so that's definitely profitable, but that's not a scaling, like, exponential profitable.
Yeah, right. And the other dilemma there is, if I take the time, so I had originally planned to have June, July, and August, and July, August, and September to do the Watch Me Code screencast, or the Pragmatic Programmer screencast. I've had content for Watch Me Code done since June. I mean, like middle of June, I had all my content done and edited all the way out to the end of September. And the plan, the goal was to do the Pragmatic Programmer screencast in that time. And then Signal Leaf started eating my lunch. And I had to deal with losing $1,000 a month in Amazon fees from that, and deal with legitimate technical issues, it crashing and RSS feeds not working correctly, and getting all these other things done, which set me down the course of working on that instead of working on the screencast. So I started getting back onto the screencasts and realized that I wasn't going to have time to complete them before Watch Me Code content was needed. So now I'm at the point where I can work on the Pragmatic Programmer screencasts and sacrifice Watch Me Code subscribers, or I can work on Watch Me Code screencasts and sacrifice Pragmatic Programmers screencasts.
Okay.
So, I mean,
I've got a solution for you.
What's that?
I've got a solution for you, Derek. All right, this is what you need to do. I'm changing my advice. All right. Well, sort of. Okay. Just try this. Try this. Just go 1 week for each thing for now. And see how it works. And you can adjust it later. But for now, because the biggest problem that I'm hearing from you is that you just have all these things. You can't prioritize them. You don't know which is priority. And it's frustrating you. And you're working on all these things at once. Let's just make an artificial priority. Let's forget about what the real priority should be and just say, okay, just pick a random order. You've got 4 things. You've got Signal Leaf. You've got the Pragmatic Press stuff. You've got the Watch Me Code. And you've got
client work.
Client work. Yeah, client work can't really do that.
Client work has to happen every week.
Yeah.
There's
and
no
that's
way around
what,
it.
2 days
You've
a
got
week, Derek?
I have 2.5 days a week, which also includes email to my mailing list, blog posts, and general tech support stuff for Watch Me Code and Signal Leaf and other things.
And those
so
are
like
just
admin, so like you have an admin bucket, and then you've got a consulting bucket.
So you've got 3 projects then to focus on, right? I guess, as I'd say. I mean, you've got the weekly stuff you have to do, which is your consulting and then the admin overhead.
Right. So I have roughly 2 days a week in which I can do whatever project.
Okay.
And sometimes that's like a day and a half because I have to take my son to therapy on a regular basis.
Right.
So take take every week and then devote 1 week to one of those projects. So you'll rotate through those three buckets essentially.
Right.
So every week you'll know it's now Signal Leaf week, or it's Watch Me Code week, or it's Pragmatic Press week, and then you'll just work on that stuff for that week.
Well, and I honestly I would say keep the Pragmatic Programmer stuff off the table right now, because you've already kind of kicked that can down the road. I don't think so. That is that is basically a $10,000 shot of income. It's like a one time. I mean, it's not one time, but it's not like you're not building an asset per se. Like but it's a quickly decaying asset. Like the half-life on the income on that is going to decrease, not increase, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it'll get me a couple $1,000s a month for a number of months after it first launches, but it drops quickly.
Right. That's not really. I mean, that's not really building a business. Like, it's a nice shot of income, but it's not really helping you build your business unless you want to keep doing that. And kind of throwing more fuel in that fire all the time. I mean, that's kind of the situation that Nathan Barry's in, is where he's found that he's had to do a lot of product launches over and over again, and it's wearing him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would keep that one off the table entirely for now.
That's a good point, yeah.
And so that gets you rotating between two major things besides your client work.
Right.
And you might even try batching it up. If 2 days a week isn't enough to feel like you're making good progress, then do 2-week sprints or something, where you spend 2 weeks on Signal Leaf and then a week on Watch Me Code or something like that.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, put in the artificial priorities. That is going to help you, I think.
Yeah.
For now. And then you'll see what it really balances out to. And you might have to take 1 week for administrative type of just like catch up stuff, but try not to. I mean,
do you have like balance on your working hours? How do you?
Yeah, when my kids are not home. I mean, seriously, that's exactly what it is. Now, I drop my son off at school at around 7:30 in the morning, and I pick him up at 5 o'clock. On Wednesday afternoons he has therapy, and Friday afternoons he has therapy, and my wife and I try to balance who takes him so that it evens out long term. So there are some days, some weeks when I have half of Wednesday to work and half of Friday to work. There are some weeks when I have all of Wednesday to work and all of Friday to work. The problem with Wednesday is it usually needs to be at least half focused on my client work. Otherwise, I'm not getting enough hours to even pay my bills, let alone keep the client work on schedule.
I think you just need clear delineations of what the time. Like are you using anything like Toggle right now to track your time? Like you might use that just to see where your time's being spent, and like every time you're working on anything, you start a toggle and you type in what the name of the task is.
Yeah, I've got I use getharvest.com. That's what I use to track all my consulting hours in, and I'm basically using it as my accounting system right now, which is a really bad idea, but it allows me to track my time really easily. There's even a really nice little app for my phone where I can just click a button start, click a button stop, and
right. But you said that you don't find that data to be helpful, right?
Yeah, I log it and I look at it and go, now what? What do I do with this?
Right.
Wait, are you tracking more than your client time? Are you tracking just any time you're working at all?
Right now, I'm not tracking any of my time, which I think is a problem.
Well,
that's not true. I'm tracking my client time, but I'm doing that in a spreadsheet because that's how they want it tracked. So they gave me an Excel spreadsheet. So when I work on for my client project, I track the time for them in that spreadsheet.
Yeah, because you might just look at the habit and see how you're spending your time, and then
right.
I mean, the other piece of it might be too, like the overhead time that you're spending too, like on blog posts and emails to lists and stuff like that. You might make a quote or compartmentalize that, figure out how much time do those things take every week, and know how much time you actually have left over. Because I have a feeling too that you're having a time smush that you think you have a lot more time than you do,
right?
And then you're like, well, why am I not getting anything done? And it's because like you have these weekly overheads that are, you're trying to keep all these things going. You've got to send out a weekly email to your list. You've got to send, you're getting blog posts, and so how much time do you actually have to work on the other projects? Is the question. And how much time are you spending answering emails and all that stuff too? So
hardly any. I mean, I've got 852 unread emails because I don't, unless it's an emergency, I don't answer my email anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not necessarily. I mean, sometimes that is relatively low value.
Right.
So it's not, if something's got to fall off the table, that's not a bad thing to fall off the table.
Right.
But I totally hear your frustration. Like I'm kind of there myself, honestly. Just as far as like having too much going on and not being able to. My attention is so fragmented that it's really hard to. I mean, I'm not having trouble. I don't feel like I'm having trouble working on all of those things and, kind of keeping the ball moving, but I'm not making real progress because I'm shifting back and forth so much and I have so much going on.
Right.
And that's really, really frustrating. Dead air.
So that's, I mean, don't really have anything else to contribute. I'm sure there is something meaningful that has happened this week that I could say if I were not in a pissy mood.
Well, I'll offer this too. When I get back, I'd be happy to have a weekly call with you every Monday morning and help you prioritize your week, like for some period of time. I mean, we could go through my system if you want to try it out, and I could kind of be that voice that tells you, that helps set the structure for you.
Yeah.
If you think that would help.
I'm willing to try it. I mean, I'm not gonna say it won't work until we try it. So that would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to wait till I get back because the time difference will make that crazy. But
yeah,
you don't want to wake up at 2 a.m. to help me? Come on, what kind of a friend are you?
But
yeah, since I've been doing the weekly planning thing, I've definitely been able to hit kind of like my most important. I identify like what I actually want to get done, and so when I wake up, and I stumble down here at 6:30 or whatever time it is, I at least know, okay, site point article. I know which site point article I'm going to do, and I just do it, and it's it doesn't necessarily make it easy, but it's still it eliminates, like for me anyway, a lot of the wasted time comes in when you don't know exactly what you're going to do, and you kind of you hem and haw around about it, and an hour goes by, and then you realize you just have checked a bunch of stats. That's the real killer.
And I've started using OmniFocus, like I've said, and it's helping a little. I've got my regular recurring things in there, so I sit down and look at Monday, and I need to write my email for the mailing list, and I need to do whatever it is I have set on Mondays.
Right.
But
it's really easy to overload your recurring tasks too, though.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't really think you have a tool problem so much as like OmniFocus is a tool, GTD is a tool. It's really hard to. It's a higher level problem than that.
Exactly.
There's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
And some hours a week.
I bought a hammer. Why isn't my house built yet?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. And I mean, I'm just everything's on the table for me. I'm looking at everything and trying to decide what I'm going to be cutting and dropping because I'm at that point where stuff needs to go.
Well, let's stop Signal Leaf then.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, unless you have a compelling reason unless for you it is something that you want to prioritize. I mean, if it's just adding more work to your life, I don't want to be the guy adding work to your life when you have other priorities.
Yeah.
If this is something that really is meaningful to you, though, to get you where you want to be, then I'm okay with moving forward with it. It's just, we're going to have to at least drop the daily burn through my pocket back so that we don't spend so much money on it, and so that I can better justify not working on it every week to get to the things that we've been talking about.
Right. Okay, yeah, let's decide on that. I think actually that the Signal Leaf, for me, my two highest priority things right now are this copywriting stuff and Signal Leaf, honestly.
Okay.
Those are the two things that are the most in the direction that I want to go. It's the other stuff that I'm really taking a long, hard look at.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we can probably, the budget, we'll definitely need to pick a budget that works for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming down to if I knew I could spend the time working on the site to get the features in place that we talked about, then I have no problem with the budget because there would be forward progress with the potential to improve the situation.
Yeah, so you mentioned in our email that you thought it would be about two weeks to get. So are you talking about the pricing stuff that I mentioned, the $1 trial or some other?
The whole flow of the onboarding process.
Right. So that would take you about 2 weeks of actual, 2 weeks of
not
coding
2 calendar
time?
weeks, two of my availability weeks. Basically, a couple of days a week for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I've been trying to think about a lightweight way to test some of that stuff. Come up with a way to do that without. I don't know. Can you do Gosh, I don't know. It's tricky because you've got kind of your own front end that you're using Stripe and stuff to process payments on the back end. So it would be nice if we could come up with a way to just basically test the landing page without you having to make a lot of underlying changes.
What do you mean by test the landing page?
Well, I mean, we need to test the offer. That's the thing. I don't really want you to put in 2 weeks worth of work coding up a $1, 7-day trial or 14-day trial thing if it's not going to help conversion.
Trial is easy. That's handled by Stripe actually. That'll take me, a couple of hours at the most, more like an hour. It's the other stuff. It's splitting things out into steps. It's get the email first, and then get the plan, and then it's the order of things. It's the workflow.
Yeah.
Any individual piece, the pricing is easy. I mean, really, that's. I go into Stripe. I set a trial period or a sign up fee or whatever it is.
Okay.
And that's easy.
Well, all right. Well, why don't we try something like that then first before we retool the whole sign up process.
Okay.
And because that'll let because really if we can see a nice jump in click-throughs, that'll give us a pretty good indication. It's not going to guarantee that they're going to convert, but it will give us a pretty good indication that we're heading in a good direction.
Right.
All right. So I'll think about some ways that we can try to do that in a more lightweight way, because we need to find an offer. I think the main problem we're having now is just that we need to come up with an offer that's appealing, and we're dealing the main competitors kind of are advertising free. So we need something that's appealing, that we're not going to do free, but we can that's at least as appealing or eye-catching as free.
Yeah.
Eye-catching.
Well, gosh, here we go again. John. Wow. John, we need to get you working again.
We can hack some cloud accounts. Has anyone hacked Google Drive yet? Let's go after Google Drive. Let's get that. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, Derek, so, I mean, definitely for me, I am not, stressing about... the only stress I would say for me around Signal Leaf is not feeling like I know where to go next, which is not a bad stress. That's called I need to learn stress, right? It's not oh my gosh, this is sucking all of my life stress. It's just it's just I want to do something that works for you, and I'm not really sure what that is yet.
Right.
And I think the internship that I'm doing will kind of overlap. The copywriting stuff I'm doing is going to that's going to be a bit of a meat grinder, I think, and I'm going to get some chops here in a hurry.
Yep.
That will feed back into that. So.
This is it's interesting just looking at the number one thing I think that people could probably learn from this show is that being an entrepreneur, you have to get kicked in the balls a lot.
Yes.
Right? It's just you're repeatedly getting kicked in the balls until you You just have to build up a resistance to being kicked in the balls.
You really want to do it, but
Yeah.
So there's on the more on the, I don't know, this popped into my head. I don't know why this popped into my head now, but I've had a conversation with Jared Drysdale.
Yeah.
He goes by Studio Fellow on Twitter, and he did the Bootstrapping Design and a couple of other books recently, and he's been sending out emails similar to the ones that I've been doing actually recently, and I've been on his list forever, so I've been reading his emails that he's been sending out lately and really liking them. And this week's email that he sent out was, if you were living the good life, would you even notice? And it really hit me hard. It's like, oh,
yeah,
for all the complaints I have, which this goes back to my existential crisis. For all the complaints that I have and all the problems that I'm talking about right now, I look at where I am now compared to where I have been in the past. I mean, I was legitimately a few days away from being homeless about 15 years ago. I mean, I didn't have a job. I had 1 month of rent in my bank, and my apartment complex was telling me that I was going to be booted out because even though I could pay the rent, I didn't have a job, and Equal Housing said I couldn't live there anymore. So, I mean, I was legitimately that close, days away from being homeless. And I've worked minimum wage jobs, I've done construction, I've done, janitorial work, I've done fast food and gas stations, and so I look at where I am today, and it's hard to not see the success that I've had in my life and where I am today compared to where I've been in the past, which is exactly what Jared was talking about in that email, exactly his point. So I've had this interesting little conversation with him over email for the last couple of days, just talking back and forth about exactly this problem and how we look at success and failure in different perspectives, and how one man's failure is another man's success, where he talks about, he mentioned to me having some missteps and some failures, and only bringing in $10,000 for one of the products that he produced, and I look at that and say, wow, $10,000, I would love to hit $10,000. I'm losing $1,500 a month on Signal Leaf right now. If I could get to $10,000 in profit, that would be amazing. That would be a gigantic win. $10,000 in revenue, let alone profit, would be amazing for Signal Leaf. So it's hard to keep perspective on where I've been and how much success I've had when I'm stuck in the middle of stress and being in a pissy mood and wondering why the hell I can't get anything done or prioritize or focus or whatever it is that I'm complaining about, and trying to step back and think, okay, what success have I had? Makes me feel like a total douchebag for complaining about these things all the time. It's
yeah.
So this is the other half of my existential crisis at the moment. It's why am I complaining about all these things instead of celebrating the success that I've had?
I think there's a balance. Like the best place to be, in my opinion, is where you're grateful for what you have, but hungry for more. That makes sense. Because if there's a lot of people that are just hungry for more, right? They're never grateful for what they have. So they never get any more because they can't handle it. Because if you can't handle what you have and be grateful for it, then you can't handle more. So the universe, God, whatever, doesn't give them more because they can't handle it. So there's kind of this balance of it, and then there's some people that are just satisfied where they're like, you know, these people that have been working the same job for 15 years, you know,
Yeah.
they're like, weren't you a QA like engineer 15 years ago? Like you didn't rise up to even be manager or anything. Like they're just totally content with what they have. I won't say satisfied, but they have no ambitions. And that's a bad side. So it's like finding that balance of like you're grateful for what you have, like you're satisfied with it, you're not like disappointed in it, but at the same time you're hungry for more.
Yeah. So I would put a small qualifier around that previous statement. It's the content with where you are, the no ambition is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a good thing if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, but I know plenty of people that are perfectly happy with their lives.
Yeah. I think it depends how you get there. Like a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are at that point because they just think the world has conspired against them, and they have no ambition because they've given up.
Right. Versus people that are legitimately content, they are happy with their life. They don't want or need anything else, which I think is an okay place to be. If you're stuck there because you're cynical and pissed off and you believe the world is conspiring against you, that's bad. If you're stuck there because you're ungrateful for what you have done and have accomplished, that's bad. And I honestly wonder if I'm in that place right now. If I'm not appreciative of what I have been able to do in my life and where I am currently and unable to move beyond what I have now because of that. That's been a legitimate concern of mine for some time now.
Yep. I would say for me I'm probably definitely more in that camp, you know. Tough.
It is. And I got this office piled full of shit behind me, and I need to get rid of it. I mean, I really just need to get rid of it. Not move it somewhere else in the house. Mm-hmm. Get rid of it. What's it doing? It's just cluttering up my office, making me not want to be at home in my office. That's really what it does. Is I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in my house because my house is a giant mess, and it stresses me out.
I did something actually I think it was last year, and I'm probably going to do it again. Just to back up real quick, for me, where I am right now, what I am craving more than anything is simplicity and focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just in all areas of my life, I'm trying to look at everything. And one thing I did last year was I did a thing where I just picked something, like one thing every day that I was going to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I did that for quite a while and got rid of a ton of stuff. I don't like to have things that I don't use. It really drives me crazy. And I've got a lot of stuff. My garage is filling up. We have kids now, so they have a lot of gear, and I have stuff in the garage that I haven't used in years that is just starting to really bother me. So I'm going to be probably doing a major purge.
Yeah.
I'm looking to purge things from my life right now, basically.
It does help. I've done the same. I went on a major purge and got rid of just about it. I don't own any physical books. Like, I don't own any DVDs. I got rid of all video games. Like doesn't mean that I don't use those things, but I was at a point where I'd buy something, use it, and then resell it, and like on eBay. Now it doesn't make sense, like from a financial perspective. Now I just throw it away or donate it. Yeah. Rather than list it on Amazon or eBay, But yeah, that's definitely, it does take a lot of load off of your mind when you have less possessions. If it were just me, if I didn't, if it wasn't my wife and daughter, I would probably just have a backpack.
Yeah.
So that I feel the best when I just have like a computer and a couple of other things. Yeah. And then if I want something, I get it and use it, and then I'm done with it.
One of my friends from college, came to my first apartment before I got married, and he looked around. He's like, there's a line in, I think the movie's called Heat, where it's like, when you feel the heat coming around the corner, you need to just walk away and be gone, and and he's like, dude, you could be out of here in like 2 hours or less.
Yep.
And I kind of like not having a lot of stuff like that tiny.
That was my apartment when I first moved to Dallas as well. I mean, I had a bed, I had a few dishes, I had a TV, I had a closet with clothing.
I think I had two bowls.
A chair. And I liked not having stuff in my house. It was nice.
It's funny that like this kind of brings up the whole thing is like why Simple Programmer exists and like why I write about what I do because I found that and it's so with programming, but it's more so with entrepreneurial things. I mean, it's really with anything you're pursuing. The battle was never against like the world and your customers and the battle has always been against yourself.
Yeah.
And it always is, and you're constantly fighting yourself. You're constantly, I mean, even for diet and fitness and you're always.
I've gained 30 pounds in the last 6 months.
But we're always fighting ourselves. It's always a mental game, and that's the thing. Is like, I guess to remember that we're always fighting. I mean, that's. You just have to get and the battle is new every day, right? You never conquer it. Like you're just going to have to fight. Your brain wants to do the bad things. It wants to tell you you're a failure. It wants to procrastinate. It wants you to eat hamburgers. All these things. It wants to tell you you're all disorganized and that you can't work because there's a mess. It's all these things that are working against you.
Yep.
Should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, we should wrap
it up. On that happy note.
Yes.
All right, good.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Oh, by the way, one last thing.
Yeah.
None of us answered Craig's email. I noticed we were playing
that.
Oh
my goodness.
He wrote a long email, and then I was like, I'm
so
not answering
sorry,
this.
Craig.
Someone else will answer this. And then you guys did the same thing. I was like, dang it.
It's the bystander effect. It's my 853 emails. I had one more email came in while we were on this call.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derek as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers.